Hello there folks, it's Gail here from Ornamentology. I just thought I'd show you another one of my journals, which was a bit of a combination of work that I've made myself and a way of interpreting these digital downloads that I found. This is another page of selection of them that came from the same graphic designer type person as the inventors one, and you can see from the sort of the design that it's a similar kind of thing. This is a little journal that I've made. I was inspired by the paperclip. I found this paperclip and it reminded me of a trombone slide. So that's why it's being included in this book. That's about musical stuff. I'm not musical myself. I couldn't hold a tune in a bucket, to be fair. So this is kind of just interesting, really. I tea-dyed some old bed sheets to give you the spine of this, and it's stitched in the usual way. And this paper it's kind of a strange kind of card. It's really tough, but I tea dyed it and then stamped it. This is just a kind of like a schematic drawing of a electronic metronome, and this is the journal. So it's hand stitched. I've got put in some tape that took my fancy. It just looked a bit like notes, really, so that's why I did this. Again, using this little holder, and I just made some tickets out of the leftover materials, and they're just interesting little things. You can write on the back of them or include them in your mails that you send to people. This is just a bit of paper from a book about Sibelius that took my fancy, so I just tucked it in. It was interesting. And these are sort of schematic drawings and pencil drawings of various musical instruments. This is an accordion. I printed them out on the back of my own tea-dyed paper. This is again that metronome, but I've just done it to a different scale and turned it into a journaling card. Made a pocket out of music sheet paper. Just put a little thumbnail in there so that you could thumb hole so you can take your stuff out. And I printed it on my own paper. So I dyed this paper with tea and then just printed the design out on the back of it or on the front of it, and it just looks really interesting. I think the drawings are beautiful. And again, this is someone else's work. They sell them as digital downloads, and you can just pick them up on Etsy really pretty inexpensively, and providing you don't just sell on the download, which obviously would be a bit rude and not where we're going at all, then you can use them in whatever way you like creatively and sell on from there. This is when my printer had a bit of a funny turn, but I quite like it. I think it looks like the sort of at the start of music sheet almost. And I experimented. I printed some holes in things. I don't know why I got obsessed about having little holes in things. I think I just wanted to try my new crocodile chomper thing. And I offset the papers so that they weren't on the page in the same place, just to make it interesting, really. More pages, more offset bits of print. I kind of put the paper in a bit skewy so that it kind of worked. This is red cabbage dyed paper. More interesting things about the trombone. This is where I kind of got the idea of this kind of came from. This is how I linked the two things together. More tea dye paper that I've used the digital download on top of. I had an envelope that had gone through the process, and I just put a bit of lined paper. It's from the journal, the ledger paper on the back of there. That was just a little bit interesting, and there's plenty of space in here for you to put your own things. I found this pack of cards that looked a bit dog-eared, so I used tea bags to cover them and bits of writing, and it's just an interesting thing. You know, you could attach it, give it away, or keep it, or do whatever you want with it. And I used some of those little ticket shapes to do a concealed paper clip to just fasten that on there with. It's just a little bit of interesting addition to the page. When I did this blackcurrant tea that tasted ghastly and looked amazing, I sprinkled some actual tea bags, ordinary tea bags, over the top, and it gave it this patina that I quite like. Here's a postcard with an interesting stamp from Africa on it. You could actually write on this and send it to somebody through the post. It'd be quite an interesting thing to receive, I think. More of these journaling cards. I just find bits of I collect bits of ribbon. You know, when you buy clothes and they have them on the shoulders to keep them on the coat hangers in the shops, well, they're just really irritating when you wear the garments, so I just cut them off and keep them, and they make good journal tag ribbons. This is again the information that I put about journals and how I make them and what inspires me. You can write on the back of there, so it's not just gratuitous advertising, it's useful too. More ledger paper. I really like this ledger paper. I think it's about 1950s, so it's got a nice feel to it. I made the images smaller and put them on a sheet, which was kind of interesting. Again, the blue paper, more graphic paper, and the printer had a bit of a funny turn. The printer had a day when it just wasn't doing what it was meant to be doing. I don't know whether it's pilot error, printer error, or a bundle of both, really. So there's some very odd marks on the paper that's due to the printer having a funny turn. More schematic drawings, really, about musical instruments, and this is from the journal. I think it's in the late 1950s this journal was made, and it looks like a ledger, but it's actually a training document, and this ledger is quite thick, and it tells you how to do double entry bookkeeping. It's just interesting, and so it's got this beautiful handwriting. It's actually printed on it. It's not a handwritten thing, it's printed on, and it tells you how to do double entry bookkeeping in pounds, shillings and pence. It's just interesting, really. It's an archival thing, really. Used a bit of tape, put it on the skew width because I think that's kind of interesting, really, myself. More paper. This is the middle. I used a jute brown string because it just worked with the general colourway of the printing and the paper. And here we have more dyed paper. This is the other side of that thing, and it tells you how to do a balance sheet, assets, an end of year balance sheet, and it's just interesting. It's kind of archival about how people functioned in those times, really, I think. More information about how clarinet valves work, which I think is quite interesting. I'm not musical, but it just interests me. Here's when I dried the paper. I had another sheet or two on top of it, and it gives it a kind of a patina. I printed on the back of that and just did it in a really washed out way, so it gives it some interest. Again, I've got into the habit of putting things in the printer a bit lopsided, and it seems to not dislike it too much. Use some more of the paper just to make a little journal card that's just got tea staining on the back. The paper is tea dyed. More of the blue, a little bit more of this just cut a bit fancy cut at the top, more ribbon on it. There's plenty of pocket room for you to put things that you want to collect and gather. And there's always the opportunity to, just paper clip things to the side, or write on it, or tear the page out and use it for something else. Once the journal's yours, the idea is that you use it in whatever way you please. I mean, these images are just so beautiful. Look at them. I think they've been enhanced by putting them on this tea-dyed paper. This is a bit of tea-dyed music sheet, and it's a Gilbert and Sullivan opera. This is interesting. A couple of the images were blue on black, and it's just lovely. It looks so different when you just change the colorway, to be honest. And here is the last page. There's a little space at the back so that you can put things in if you want to. I did some stamping of faux coffee stains, and this is from the front. There was just a little tear off the corner. It just looked pretty, so I thought I'd put it in. You could write something on the back, or just in fact glue it to a page yourself if you wanted to. They're kind of meant to be interactive, these journals, so the idea is that you take them and you use them. You move things about, you stick them in, you take them out, you kind of do what you want with them. You might decide to write in them, you might decide to stick pictures and images of some way that you've visited in. It's kind of entirely up to you how you use it. But it's an interesting way of going about things. And this tea-dyed cotton fabric just holds the journal together. It gives it that kind of old, used look. And as I say, it was all inspired by the paper clip, really. This is called the Musical Collection, and it's available. If you're interested in this journal, just get in touch with me. The overall size, 21 centimetres tall, that's about 8¼ inches. 15 centimetres wide, that's about 6 inches. The conversion's not great, but the centimetres are a fairly accurate measurement. And there it is. It looks very worn. It looks like you've found it in the bottom of somebody's loft somewhere, and it's rather magnificent, I think. I particularly like this 3-hole pamphlet stitch that I use to hold the pages together. It works, it's relatively easy to do. If you'd like to see me do a tutorial of how to put a simple journal together, maybe leave your comments below and I'll do something like that. The YouTube is littered with people doing it, and I don't kind of want to, you know, go over old stuff that people have already done. But if you're interested and you'd like me to show you how I do it, then, you know, let me know and I'll put something together. It's all a bit of a learning curve, this, for all of us really, but here it is. So this one's called The Musical Collection, and if you're interested, just let me know. It's available for sale whenever you're ready. Just to give you an indication, this one, because there's not a lot of inclusions and it's a fairly straightforward journal, this one's £30. The other ones are slightly more involved, there's more to them. They're kind of like in the 40s, 45, 48 pounds. They're all priced individually because they're all made individually, and as ever, I don't do the same style twice. So whilst I may use the images again, I won't put them together in this way because nobody wants something the same as anyone else, do they? I certainly don't. Anyway, bespoke work, it is. Commissions are taken, accepted and thoroughly encouraged. So if you're interested, get back to me and we'll go from there. Thank you very much for your most precious commodity shared with me today, your time. Thanks everybody. Bye now, and catch you on the next one.